Obsessive Compulsive Disorder, or OCD, is one of those things that we throw around a lot to describe people who are organized or like things clean. But have you ever stopped to wonder what OCD really means? In this video, we'll be busting some myths around OCD, looking at where it comes from and what real OCD looks like. Stick around till the end to find out the 12 signs. There's more to it than just washing your hands, like thinking you could be a child molester. So what is obsessive compulsive disorder? It's a term that is misused a lot in social settings, but there is actually no such thing as a bit OCD, and being clean or organized doesn't mean you have it either. The way the condition negatively affects people's lives is in fact very real and not to be taken lightly. OCD is a common mental health condition where people have obsessive thoughts and compulsive behaviors. It can affect men, women, and children. Some people start having symptoms early, often around puberty, but it usually starts during early adulthood. It isn't really clear what causes OCD, but there are 4 major factors which can play a part. Family history. You are more likely to develop OCD if a family member has OCD or another mental health disorder like depression or anxiety. This is likely because of your shared genetics. For more information on these illnesses, you can check out some of our other videos. Differences in the brain. Research shows that some people with OCD have areas of unusually high activity in their brain or low levels of a chemical called serotonin. Life events. OCD may be more common in people who have been bullied, abused, or neglected, and it sometimes starts after an important life event, such as childbirth or the death of a loved one. Personality. Neat, meticulous, and methodical people with high personal standards may be more likely to develop OCD, as well as people who are generally quite anxious or have a very strong sense of responsibility for themselves and others. OCD usually doesn't happen all at once. Symptoms start small, and to you, they can seem to be normal behaviors, so it's important to know the signs. For most people who suffer with it, it's a very distressing condition which significantly interferes with day-to-day life. As the name suggests, there are 2 main components to OCD: obsessions and compulsions. Let's break these down and take a closer look at what they mean. People who have OCD will usually experience frequent obsessive thoughts and compulsive behaviors. An obsession is an uncontrollable, unwanted, and unpleasant intrusive thought, image, or urge that repeatedly enters your mind. This can cause feelings of anxiety, disgust, or unease. People with OCD may try to ignore or suppress them, but they may be afraid that somehow the thoughts might be true. The anxiety associated with suppression can also become too great to endure, making them engage in compulsive behaviors to decrease their anxiety. A compulsion is a repetitive behavior, ritual, or mental act that they feel they need to do to temporarily relieve the unpleasant feelings brought on by the obsessive thought. Compulsions may offer some relief, but only for a little while. The obsession and anxiety soon return, causing the cycle to begin again. It is possible to just have obsessive thoughts, or just have compulsions, but most people with OCD experience both. So what does this look like in real life? Well, obsessions and compulsions can manifest in really different ways from person to person, but there are some very common themes and symptoms for each. Today we'll be telling you about 12 of them, so you can know what to look out for. Let's start with obsessions at number 12. Fear of germs or dirt. This is when people are scared to touch things that they see as contaminated. This can be things other people have touched, like doorknobs. It can also make people reluctant and scared to hug, shake hands, or touch other people in general. For people with severe OCD, this can escalate to things like avoiding public transport or even public places, so you can already see how it starts to make life very difficult. Number 11. Extreme need for order. When people are obsessed with order, they can start to feel stressed when objects are out of place. This means that they often spend a lot of time arranging, organizing, or lining up objects until certain conditions are met, or the end result feels just right. This can make it really hard for people to leave the house until they have arranged things in a very specific way. Number 10. Fear of hurting themselves or someone else. Like all intrusive thoughts, these can pop up at any time and focus on the possibility of self-harm or hurting other people. The thoughts can take the form of fearing they will harm someone close to them, or even a fear they have harmed someone in the past and didn't realize or don't remember it. When doing something like waiting for a train or bus, they can have vivid images of throwing themselves or other people in front of it. This can lead people to isolate out of fear. Number 9. Excessive doubt or fear of making a mistake. It's common for people to have a lot of obsessional thoughts about making catastrophic mistakes, which makes them doubt themselves. This includes things like worrying about leaving the door open or burning the house down by leaving the stove on. We all make mistakes, but to people who are suffering from this, those mistakes can make this worse and make them feel less confident. You can spot this type of thinking when people need constant encouragement or reassurance that they are doing the right thing. Number 8. Fear of embarrassment. This is when people have constant and repeated thoughts or images about embarrassing themselves in public, like having the urge to yell out curse words, behaving badly in social situations, or say inappropriate things they don't really mean or believe. Some people even regularly involuntarily remember humiliating memories from their past. This can make them fixate on those moments and replay the embarrassing moment over and over again. This can make people really scared of socializing out of fear of history repeating itself. Number 7. Fear of evil or hostile thoughts, including deviant ideas about sex or religion. People can have violent thoughts or images of doing abusive things, which can make them worry they are dangerous people. People can even imagine troubling sexual or disrespectful scenarios related to children or family members, which makes them worry that they could be a pedophile or rapist, or that they are sexually attracted to someone in their family. Of course, these are just intrusive thoughts, which are very distressing to the people experiencing them. People with OCD who suffer from these obsessions are not dangerous. Having intrusive thoughts does not make them true. Now you have a good idea of what obsessions look like. The next science will be all about compulsions. Like obsessions, compulsions also have common themes and symptoms, but these are usually simpler, repetitive behaviors. These compulsions are not always related to the obsessions, but they can still take hours to do. So let's resume the countdown at number 6, washing or cleaning. People with this compulsion can spend hours doing things like washing their hands, brushing their teeth, and showering. Sometimes they even do this several times a day. Number 5. Checking. This includes behaviors like repeatedly checking kitchen appliances are turned off, or that every door and window is locked before leaving the house. Number 4. Counting. When people have intrusive thoughts and feel anxious, they sometimes count to a certain number or say it in a certain pattern to distract themselves. Number 3. Order. When people feel out of control because of their thoughts, they do things to regain that control by doing things like eating things in a specific order, or touching certain objects at a specific time and in a certain order. Number 2. Routine. In an attempt to cope with anxiety, people can become superstitious and feel the need to do certain routines to stop bad things happening. This can include saying or doing things a set number of times and in a certain way before being able to leave the house. Number 1. Collecting or hoarding. People sometimes do this when they've experienced some kind of loss in their life, like losing their belongings in a fire or the death of a loved one. Their homes are usually full of things they don't use or need, yet they still keep purchasing more. This could also be a sign of grief. Watch our video about the stages of grief for more information. And there you have it, 12 signs of OCD. It's really easy to see why these obsessions and compulsions make life so difficult for people suffering with OCD. So next time someone says they're a bit OCD, it'll make you think twice, and you can share this video. Remember, just because you have obsessive thoughts or perform compulsive behaviors does not mean that you have obsessive compulsive disorder. Every single person has intrusive thoughts that can be disturbing. A lot of us even have superstitions or rituals. At one point or another, we've all been scared about leaving the doors unlocked or the oven on before leaving for work or a holiday. If you can control those thoughts or think about them logically, it is probably not OCD. With OCD, these thoughts and behaviors cause tremendous stress, take up at least an hour every day, and interfere with your daily life and relationships. If that sounds familiar, then it could be a sign that it's time to get help. The good news is there are a lot of effective treatments for OCD, like cognitive behavioral therapy, exposure and response prevention, and medication. We really hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll be back soon with more great content, so don't forget to subscribe.